Alrighty, y'all. So who's excited for tonight? Okay. When I get nervous, I have to pee, but right before it happens. So in middle school, this is my undoing, because before every middle school basketball game, the clock would be ticking down, right? You're doing layups and all. And about 2 minutes before the game would start, I was like, Coach, dude, I have to pee right now. But you have to remember, okay, so I was on B team, so it wasn't like I was the first one on the field or the court. We just alternated, so I was like, Coach, put me in the second round so I can go pee, please. And she's like, you should have done that before the game. And so it was miserable, right? So anyway, don't worry, guys. I peed before I came, just in case you're curious. Alrighty, so y'all remember what happened last week before Austin got a new haircut? No? Okay. I know his haircut was kind of the highlight of the night. First of all, Austin raise your hand if you think Austin looks sick with his new haircut. So cool. Yeah, see, Austin, everyone loves it. Okay, the second and third row back here, the Fisherman clan does not approve. Frishman, my bad, I added extra R's. But before the most awesome, epic haircut that's been seen since, Samson and Delilah, biblical reference, thank you, Austin talked about abiding. Remember, he talked about 3 ways we abide. He talked about how God abides in us, how we abide in God, and then how we abide together. So what we're going to really hone in and focus on today is how we abide together. So if you've grown up in the church, you've probably heard a word like fellowship or something like that, right? So we're going to look, I'm an English major. I feel like it's kind of my obligation to teach you a new word, right? So instead of looking at the word friend or fellowship or living life together, we're going to really look at this one term called armor bearer. So way back in the day in the Old Testament, kings and really mighty warriors had this thing called an armor bearer. So when they were going... Bearer. We'll get there. Thank you for asking. That's a great question. No, not my dog's name's Bear. Anyway, but an armor bearer held the weapons and the armor for the king or the prince that was about to go into battle. Yes. The guy with the backpack. Yes, the armor bearer is the guy with the backpack. Perfect. So, okay, let's think about this, right? So you're about to go into battle, and you don't have your armor on, and you don't have any weapons. What are you? Dead. That's what you are. That's what happens if you go into battle without any armor or any weapons, right? Right. You are completely defenseless, right? Completely useless. You can't defend yourself, right? And you can't attack anybody else, right? That's what happens if you don't have any armor or any weapons, okay? So we're going to look at a passage in which this applies. Ready? So everybody turn to 1 Samuel 14. Page number? 1 Samuel 14. It's going to be in the Old Testament. 203? Our reigning champion, Nate, says it's 203. Okay. Everybody there? 203. Starting in verse 1. Okay, y'all ready? And shh. Page 203, 1 Samuel chapter 14, starting in verse 1. Okay. Everybody simmer down now, y'all? Okay, starting in verse 1. 203. 14, verse 1. Yes, sir. Perfect. Okay, so to set the scene, Israel, right? Are y'all listening? Are you listening? Israel is in another war. You'll notice if you read the Old Testament, Israel has this habit of fighting everybody, right? They just don't like anybody around them. Kind of like me, don't touch me, you know what I'm saying? They just fight everybody, right? So Israel's in yet another war, this time against the Philistines. And the chapter before, it explains that the Philistines had actually had this genius idea. Okay, listen up. If y'all ever go to war, y'all have to do this. What they did is they actually made it where the Israelites couldn't sharpen their own weapons, right? So they actually had to pay the Philistines to sharpen them for them. So they had nothing. Literally the entire Israelite army had no weapons, okay? So you're going to battle, right? And you have no weapons. Is anybody a little concerned for the Israelites, right? This is one of those moments, if God ain't gonna do it, it ain't gonna get done, right? Right, perfect. So we're gonna start in verse 1. It says, one day, Jonathan, the son of Saul, so Saul is the king of Israel at this time. So Jonathan is the prince of Israel. Cool? Cool. Said to the young man who carried his armor, come, let us go over to the Philistine garrison on the other side. But he did not tell his father. Okay, Jesus does not say go places without telling your parents, okay? Do not read into that verse. Perfect, great. Starting in verse 4. Within the passes by which Jonathan sought to go over to the Philistine garrison, there was a rocky crag on one side and a rocky crag on the other side. Okay, so they're quite literally between a rock and a hard place. Following? Perfect. Verse 6, Jonathan said to the young man who carried his armor, "Come, let us go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for nothing can hinder the Lord for saving by many or by few." And his armor bearer said, listen real good. His armor bearer said, "Do all that is in your heart. Do as you wish. Behold, I am with you, heart and soul." Then Jonathan said, "Behold, we will cross over to the men, and we will show ourselves to them. If they say to us, 'Wait until we come to you,' then we will stand still in our place, and we will not go up to them. But if they say, 'Come up to us,' then we will go up, for the Lord has given them into our hand. And this shall be the sign for us." Okay, so they're standing here, and he's like, listen, there's two of us. There's a bunch down there. The garrison's like where the soldiers live and sleep. Cool? Right, he says, okay, if they sit down there and they see us and they say, "Hey, hold up, we'll be right with you," we're going to do what they say. But if they mock us and they make fun of us and they say, "Oh, come down here, we got something to show you," right? There's two of them. We got it easy. Then we know that the Lord has given him to our hands, right? Following? Perfect. And the men of the garrison held Jonathan his armor bearer and said, "Come up to us and we will show you a thing." So what is this? Is this the stay where we are or the Lord's given it to us? Genius. The Lord has given it to us. Perfect. Then Jonathan climbed up on his hands and his feet, and his armor bearer after him. And they fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer killed them after him. After that first strike, which Jonathan and his armor bearer made, killed about 20 men. Okay, so we're painting the picture, right? So they're going down to the battle. They're between these two rocky places, right? And the garrison's down below. They go down to the fight, right? Following? Jonathan goes first, and Jonathan's swinging at the people around him, right? So what happens is when you go into a bunch of people, they start coming around you on the other side, right? And you can only attack one side. So his armor bearer comes up behind him and is getting the people that are now at Jonathan's back. Make sense? Perfect. I'm taking that as a yes. Thank you. Thank you. So what does this mean for us? Okay? We know what the armor bearer means for the Old Testament. What does it mean for us? Thank you. So the armor bearer takes the burdens we cannot carry, right? So the armor bearer is going to know our burdens, right? They know our armor and our weapons. That's our baggage, right? They can take the weapons we cannot carry. They are always there in times of need. So we look at verse 4, right? Jonathan's literally between a rock and a hard place, right? So they're there in times of need, but they also go to the battle with us, right? They go down to the garrison to fight this battle with us. They hold our weapons, right? So if we're going to battle, like we talked about earlier, if we don't have any weapons or any armor, we're screwed, right? There's nothing we can do. So they hold our weapons, and in time of need, they equip us with those weapons. Cool? So they're your weapons, but in your time of need, they're the ones that equip you with them. Sound good? Yeah. Perfect. They fight our battles with us. So we look at verses 13 and 14. The armor bearer goes with Jonathan, right? He doesn't say, "All righty, chief, that's your shield, that's your sword, have fun, see you on the flippity flip," right? No, he goes down there and fights it with him. Perfect. And then the last thing is they got our back, right? When Jonathan was going in there sword swinging, people were coming around him, but his armor bearer was there and he had his back. So we look at, okay, what is an armor bearer? Check. An armor bearer is the person that carries things for us, right? We look at what that means for us. Now we need to know who can be an armor bearer, right? So we have this idea of what an armor bearer is. They carry our burdens, but who can do that? So the first thing I want to say is it needs to be someone that you love and you trust. So in 1 Samuel 16:21, "And David came to Saul and entered his service, and Saul loved him greatly, and he became his armor bearer." So the position of armor bearer is not like a burden for you. Position of armor bearer is like, man, I love them so much, I want to be open and honest with them, right? I want to let them in on the deep insides of my heart, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So can anybody count how many times I say right so far? I think it's like 14. John 15:13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends." Okay? So an armor bearer needs to be someone we love, someone we trust. But when we're someone else's armor bearer, we need to be someone they love and someone they trust. Cool? So remember the other week when Michael was up here and he had someone in the middle and he had someone over there and he had someone over there? That's kind of what an armor bearer is like. So we may be the armor bearer for these people, right? But these people are bearing our armor. So let's say we're going into battle, and Casey and I are armor bearers for each other, okay? And we're going into battle, and she has my armor, and I have her armor. Right? Isn't that weird? That doesn't work, right? So it's important that we're armor bearers. Our armor bearers are different than who we are armor bearers for. Does that make sense? Right? Because if you, yes? Okay, yes. Yates said yes, so I'm going with it. Okay, so we know who they are, right? We know what an armor bearer is. But what are they carrying, okay? We talked about they're carrying our armor and they're carrying our weapons. But what is that? I mean, I really don't think y'all are just walking around school with like a shield and a sword. So what is it that they're carrying? So think about it. Okay, listen up. Y'all listening? In the times of battle, you need those armors and that weapon right next to you, right? If something was about to happen, you need to be prepared. You need to have a weapon, and you need to have armor. You need to be defended, right? But in times of peace, you don't need that. So we can look at a lot of different things as our armor. So sometimes our armor can be good in certain situations. So like we can look at like our past trauma, right? These things that we've experienced in the past. Now when we're going to a situation that's similar to that thing we experienced in the past, we can look back at that and say, no, I'm going to armor myself with my experiences that I've learned. I'm going to armor myself with the new things I've learned, how to address the situation, right? But in times of peace, like let's say you're leaving a toxic friend or there's a lot of like bad things going on in your life, like in a time of peace, we don't need that burden with us, do we? Do we need to be dwelling on that all the time? Like, oh, I landed in this situation. There are times when that is good for us and there's times when that's bad for us. So that's a really good thing for us to learn, is sometimes our armor bearer needs to be right by our side. Like we are going between a rock and a hard place and we're about to head to battle. And then there's sometimes we're in peace and we don't need them right there, right? Following? Looking for head nods. Cool. So like I said, our armor and our weapons at some points can be a hindrance to us. If we don't need them, they're just going to weigh us down. But if we do need them, they're how we survive. Cool. So now we know who an armor bearer is, we know what it is that they carry, and we know what an armor bearer is. How can we be armor bearers? So how can we bear others' armor, right? So like my friend, I am her armor bearer. That means I know everything that she's going through. I know her struggles. I know her successes. I know her past, right? I can help carry this weight, and that means when she goes in to fight these battles, I can be right there with her because I know what the battle she's fighting, and I know how to help fight them, right? If I don't know what battle she's fighting, it's going to be really challenging for me to fight them with her. So we need to know, A, what they're going through. So we need to be able to listen to them, right? Actually listen. We need to do it with our entire heart and soul. So verse 7, the armor bearer looks at Jonathan, and Jonathan says, hey, can you come with me? And he says, I am with you, heart and soul. When was the last time you did something for someone, heart and soul? That is giving it your all, right? You are putting everything, like you are bearing yourself to them, right? Heart and soul, whatever they need, you're there. Cool? That's how we can be an armor bearer to others. Now, it's an important line to distinguish, okay, I'm someone's armor bearer versus like, okay, this person is probably not good for me. I just like yawn in the middle of that. Probably not good for me, taking advantage of me, right? Cool. So it's a, again, thing we learn that it's someone we love and it's someone we trust. Because someone we love and someone we trust is going to use our armor bearer skills to help them fight battles, not to just burden us with their problems and say, deal with it on your own, right? So again, we learn that love and trust. Cool? Cool. So what can we do? We can provide them words of encouragement. Ben, you are doing a great job. I saw you crushing it out there. He went to the game yesterday. He's going to his high school's football game tomorrow. He is a supportive friend all the time. Words of encouragement, right? We can send prayer. We can pray for others. This can be something that they see us do, that they hear us do, or this can be something that we do by ourselves, right? Spend time with them. Spend quality time with the people we're bearing their armor. Like I said, listen. And this is the most important thing, is love on them the way they need to be loved on. So for example, when I am sad, when I'm down in the dumps, I do not want to be touched, right? Don't hug me, don't touch me, like you'll be lucky if you get a fist bump. My friend Courtney, on the other hand, she is a hugger, okay? Like if she looks at me and there's a tear in her eyes, the very next thing I have to do is give her a hug. Like I know that. See, the problem is I don't know what to do when someone's crying, right? So if I'm looking over there and someone's crying, my first instinct is like, hey buddy, I have ice cream in the freezer. Right? But when we're someone's armor bearer, we don't give them the love we think they need or the love we want to give them. We give them the love they need. okay? So when it's fighting their battles, we don't go, oh, well, Chief, that's not a really good plan. Let's do something a little different. We ask, we listen, and we love them the way they need to be loved. And the last thing we do is we equip them, right? So if you're going to battle and your armor bearer stands there and goes, have fun, I prayed for you, we got ice cream, and I gave you a hug, but forgets to give you your sword, you're not going to do much, right? So the last and most important thing that we have to do is we as armor bearers have to equip them, right? It's enough to pray and love on them, but if we don't give them equipment, they can't go fight their battles. So we fight these battles with them, but we have to equip them to fight them as well. Sound good? Cool beans. So when we're bearing someone's armor, we go down to the place the battle takes place, right? And we fight with them. We have their back. Has anybody seen The Blind Side in here? Right, so I'm a football expert, obviously. And in The Blind Side, it talks about that when the quarterback's about to throw the ball, there's a name for it, I don't know what it is. There's someone that makes sure that the people around them aren't trying to hurt them. Offensive line. The offensive line is going to make sure that no one's going to sneak around and get the quarterback when he's not looking, right? Because it's going to be really hard to look on the field for someone to throw the ball to and defend the backside, right? Those that play football, right? Right, cool. Analogy unlocked. Perfect. So we are the ones, when we're bearing someone's armor, we have to have their back. So when they're fighting their battle, when they're looking for someone to throw the ball to, when they're going to battle and in Jonathan's case, killing all the people around him, right? Our job is to have their back, to watch out for them, right? So again, that helps if we know their struggles and we know the battle they're going into, then we can have their back. Sound good? Thank you. Okay, so that's how we can be an armor bearer for someone else. So the next question is, why do we need an armor bearer? So if you know me at any level whatsoever, you may know that you don't know much about me, right? A lot of people have let me know that I have an issue with vulnerability. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to be vulnerable with you, but I'll be honest with you. I don't tell people things. And so it's really hard for me to understand why I need someone else to know my good, bad, and ugly. That doesn't make sense to me, right? I'm like, no. I'll be your armor bearer, but I'll take my own armor too, right? And that's something we can't do. So when we're going to battle with our friend, I'm not going to battle myself. Like, I don't have a battle right now, right? But I'm going to battle with my friend. I can't do that well if I'm carrying my armor and I'm carrying her armor, right? I can't be a good armor bearer for someone else if I'm not letting someone else be a good armor bearer for me. Make sense? Yes. Cool. So, again, we're talking about the mountain guide. This is the same thing. Our Christian faith isn't meant to be walked alone. Our life isn't meant to be lived alone. So there are people there who are supposed to go in front of us, right? We're supposed to carry their armor. There are people that are behind us maybe. We carry their armor, right? So it's the same kind of principle, that someone carries our armor so that we can better serve others. Sound good? Sound good. Okay, so in order for us to have good armor bearers, they have to know our struggles. So if they don't know what battle we're about to go to, they can't help fight with us, right? So let's say Jonathan was like, okay, we're going to go fight these people. And he's like, yeah, for sure. And they get down there, and it's just like Goliath's whole family, right? It's like Thanksgiving dinner, all of them 9 foot tall, 300 pounds. Like, the armor bearer's like, yeah, but you didn't tell me about this. I was not equipped for this, right? So it helps our armor bearers if we tell them what battles we're facing, what struggles we're going through. Okay, so me, there's two ends of the spectrum, right? There's me, who thinks I can do it all by myself. I don't need an armor bearer. I can be others' armor bearer, but I don't need it. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, where we're like, dude, if you could just, do it for me, then that would be sick, right? Like, if you could just, fight my battle for me, if you could make my decisions for me, if you could do my homework for me, that would be great. That would help a lot. You're doing really good. So we have to find our place in the middle, where we're fighting this battle alongside them. They're not fighting our battles for us, but they're fighting with us. Sound good? Sound good. Okay, perfect. So we know what an armor bearer is, right? An armor bearer is someone that carries our burden, carries our struggles. Again, sometimes it can be good, but sometimes it can be really bad. If we don't need them, they're just going to be weighing us down. We know what it means to be an armor bearer, how we can do it effectively, and we know who can be an armor bearer. So everybody take a real quick moment, close your eyes. I know you're probably thinking of the person that you bear their armor, okay? This is the person that always comes to you in a moment of need, and they're like, oh my gosh, Nate, this is what happened to me today. I can't believe it happened. And your job is to love on them, and to equip them, and to encourage them, and to be their armor bearer, Okay, does everybody have that person in mind? So the next person is, who do you go to? When you're having the best day in the world, who's the first person you call? When you're having the absolute trashiest day in the world, who's the first person you tell? Okay? So, our armor bearers and the people we bear their armor, it can be our friends, it can be our best friends, it can be our mom, it can be your youth interns. Shameless plug. But we need to have in mind whose armor we bear and who bears our armor, okay? Does everybody have that in their head? Okay. And now the next thing I want you to think about, close your eyes, is what battle are you about to go to? You're between a rock and a hard place, and right in front of you, in the pit, down below in the valley, you have a battle facing you. Who are you taking with you? Look to your left. Who's standing by you? Who's your left-hand man, right-hand man? Shh. Close your eyes, man. What battle are you about to face, and who's your armor bearer? Whose armor are you bearing? So the last thing I want you to think about is, how can you be a better armor bearer? Okay? What can you do? Does this person that you carry their armor, right? We just thought about the person whose armor we carry. What do they need right now? Right now, what do they need? Do they need support? Do they need encouragement? Do they need ice cream and Chick-fil-A? Do they need, hey, shh, eyes closed. What do they need? But more importantly, how do they need to be loved? And then finally, how can we equip them? What battle are they about to face? What battle are they in the midst of? How can we fight alongside them? But how can we give them the things that they need to equip them? How can we tell them that you are worthy, you are loved, you are respected, you are amazing, and you have got this? How can we tell them that God loves them so, so, so much? And how can we show that by fighting the battle with them? Next thing is, the person that bears your armor, how can you be more open to them? How can you be more vulnerable? Maybe what is it that you've kept hidden in your heart that you just haven't told them yet because you're afraid of how they'll think of you. You're afraid of how they'll react. Guys, if they're the people bearing your armor, it doesn't matter what your armor looks like. All that matters is that you're willing to give it to them. Sound good? You can open your eyes now? Okay, so to recap, right? What is an armor bearer? Nate. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. Who can be an armor bearer? Reagan. Okay. Brayden. Okay, youth interns? Yes. You love and trust. Perfect. Lila, listen. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So we have good answers. Who can be our armor bearer? How we can be a better armor bearer? And how we can allow ourselves to be open and vulnerable to others. Cool? Perfect. You'll close your eyes. We're going to pray real quick. Dear Lord, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for allowing us to be here together, Lord. We pray that you open our eyes to who armor we bear and who bears our armor, Lord. Whether or not they're in the room or at home or at school, wherever they lie, Lord, please remind us of who it is that you've given us, Lord, our God-given armor bearer. Please also remind us who it is we bear their armor for, Lord. I pray that you give us all the strength to continue to bear their armor strong, Lord, and fight their battles right alongside them. I pray that you also give us the courage to be open and vulnerable and allow ourselves to have an armor bearer, allow ourselves to open up our hearts and share the battles we're going through so that someone can help fight alongside us, Lord. I pray that you remind us that our burdens aren't always burdens, and sometimes they are beneficial, Lord, but I pray that you give us the strength to put them away when they hurt us, Lord. I pray that you continue to remind us that you love us so, so much, Lord, and I pray that you encourage them all as they go throughout their week to just look for their armor bearer, Lord, but look for ways that they can be a better armor bearer and look for ways that they can open up themselves and allow their armor bearer to love them in the ways they need. We love you and we thank you. It's your name we pray. Amen.